On the XLV 750 1983, one of the most difficult engines I've ever worked on. As you can see, I've got this head back on, and now I'm going to do this one. As you can see, these are the cams, springs, and the next thing we've got to do is replace this head cover with the rockers, and then you've got to measure the helper device which goes on top of those and is part of the hydraulic tappet or lifter mechanism. When I took the head off, I did a little bit of damage because I didn't have the right tool. I thought it was coming free, but in fact I was bending the nut this way. But lucky me, I've got a whole brand new, not a brand new, but a spare engine on it. I've also got a reasonable workshop and a lift, because this is 75 kilograms, this thing. That small thing, that's the assist shaft, and that's the assist shaft spring. You have to put them in the cylinder head cover and check the stroke with a dial gauge before you finally fit the cylinder head. So you have to fit the cylinder head first without any gasket material and measure the assist shaft stroke. When you've got that measurement, you then remove it all and you put the hydraulic tappets in, and then you replace the head and the helper springs, and you have to put some shims in as well. On the right there you see a hydraulic tappet, and below it is a shim. They come in 0.5 millimeter and 1 millimeter sizes. The hydraulic tappet is spring loaded and it should go up and down like that, and you have to bleed it before you install it, and you place it on top of the shims when you know how many shims you need. And I will show you the measurement of the stroke of the helper in a minute. This is the eccentric shaft upon which the rocker sits. The hydraulic tappet pushes one way and the assist shaft pushes the other way, and as you can see, the shaft is eccentric, and the movement of this shaft is what keeps the rockers tight against the end of the valve and the cam. And the thing is, when you're measuring them, you've got to make sure you've got it the right way. If you've got it like that, it won't work. I had a lot of trouble last time because these are very loose in the head cover, and I'm going to try it putting some grease on this time so they won't slip round so easily. Okay. Here we have the cylinder head cover. I've installed one of the assist shafts in its hole with the spring so you can see it. You can see the rockers there. Now on the end you can see that's a screw cover which you can screw out, and here we have two covers to the other ends of the eccentric shafts. There is nothing in the workshop manual which tells you how to get these out. They are actually a push fit with a rubber O-ring on them. There is a female 10mm thread in there. What I did was screw a bolt in with a flange on the head, and then used a screwdriver with a fulcrum, like a chisel, to lever them out. They are held in place when you've got the cam chain drive cover on it, so you know they don't actually just screw in, they're just a push fit but very tight. Okay, this is just to show you. I've used the part of a chisel and a long screwdriver and screwed a shouldered screw into the plug, and can lever it out relatively easily. There is the dial gauge mounted on the engine. It's a piece of metal with a hole drilled in to hold it, because there is no alloy on the engine for the magnet to hold. In the handbook it's called a gear holder, which in the photograph in the manual is hopeless. So that's it in position, and we're going to measure the stroke of this helper, which normally has the spring on top of it. You turn the crank till it's a certain mark, FT, and then you turn this around twice, and then you see what the reading is on the dial gauge. Now it's a bit difficult to film and do it at the same time, so you'll just have to trust that that dial gauge is going to move. Now we come to the tappets. This is the tappet. It's spring loaded. That one's going up and down okay. If they're a bit sticky, I read that you could soak them in petrol overnight and they go up and down okay. And then you've got to bleed them. It tells you how to do it in the manual, workshop manual. You put them in paraffin, seems to be what you do, oil I would have thought. And they talk about a bleeding tool, but in fact you can put it in vertically, and then in the hole just wiggle up and down a toothpick or a piece of wire or a small hex, and then keep trying it until you can't press it down like that, until it's almost solid, and then it's okay. And then you could keep it vertical, put it in position in the head like this, okay, and then whoop, there we go, and then just top it up so it's really full to the top. Then you can put the head cover on it, and then you can put the shaft, the little helper shafts and the springs on top, making sure that your eccentric shafts are in the correct position. Before you fit the head cover, make sure that the cams are turned so they're all pointing downwards, like that. And then this little well here, fill it not quite full with engine oil so that the cams have got oil straight away when the motor starts.